Welcome, y'all. Just want to talk a little bit about myself and introduce me and myself to y'all. My name is Derek. I'm new to YouTubing, as you could probably tell. I want to talk about life and the ups and downs, the goods, the bads. I have a million stories of growing up my whole life. Some are fun, a lot of fun. Some are not so fun. Before I divulge too much more information, if you could just like, subscribe, and that would help me out a lot. It'd be awesome. My first video, as you could probably tell. So I'll start with the first story, a nice short one. Growing up, we didn't have a whole lot. We lived in a townhome. Those that don't know what a townhome is, it's a upstairs, downstairs. Downstairs is a kitchen, dining area on one side, and the other side is a living space. You have stairs that go upstairs, of course, because that's what stairs are. And there's 2 bedrooms or more, but in our case it was 2 bedrooms. We didn't have a lot, but we enjoyed that townhome. This was when I was very young, to maybe 4, 5 time frame. Didn't have many friends there because it was a small community of townhomes, but they were all interconnected. I had 2 friends that were there. One that lived 2 doors down from me, one that lived in the front set. I lived in the third set. We used to have fun running around that complex, I guess you could call it. There was a property next door, and there was an old man that had it. And when you walked along the side of our townhomes adjacent to his property, you couldn't see his house or anything of that sort. But we knew he was mean and didn't like people on his property. So of course, us being 3 young boys, mischief followed us. We had fun. We liked it. We would venture out onto his property, and really more out of curiosity than anything. And at the front of his property was when I saw my first ghost. The only thing I can describe it as was a ghost. But I'll come back to that. So Darren and Chaz. Darren and Chaz were the 2 boys that I grew up around there at the beginning. They were older than I was. But we used to run around, mess around in those woods. That was that old man's property. And on the other side of our complex was more, it was denser, more trees. Really good for exploring, which I did a lot of that by myself growing up. And one evening, Darren and Chaz and I were over on the forbidden property, and the old man over there came out screaming and yelling, calling us all kinds of bad names. He had a shotgun. We knew what that was, so we decided to, let's sound sophisticated, we made haste and got the hell off that property real quick, like, because whether he meant to shoot or not a chance I was willing to take. And then I guess it was a few years later, going to the ghost story, a few years later, Chaz and myself and somebody else, maybe it wasn't Chaz, maybe it was Darren, I don't remember, the 3 of us were walking through that front little area. There was a trailer home there, We'd known it had been abandoned for forever. So we're walking and down the street, and we cut through that property to get to go look at motorcycles. It was a motorcycle shop about maybe 100 yards away from where we lived. So we were going over there to look at the motorcycles. It was called Johnny Word Cycle. I'll never forget that. And they were really nice people there and let us look at the motorcycles and sit on them and things like that. Well, when we were walking to Johnny Word from our townhome, we realized, well, I realized there was a clothesline. And I was like, nobody lives in that thing. How can there be a clothesline there? And it looked like there was a sheet that was hanging on that clothesline. And I said, I just didn't think anything about it until I realized the closer we got, the closer it got. And it wasn't stationary. So I know it don't make sense. Closer we got, the closer it got, of course, as we're walking. But it seemed like as we were walking to it, it was walking to us, or floating towards us. And I kid you not, just all of a sudden it was like it just wafted right through me, through us. And I turned around and there was nothing there. What was it? I don't know. Overactive imagination? Possibly. Ghosts? Once again, could be. I don't know. It was just weird. Made my stomach turn. Told my mom about it. She just brushed it off as the overactive imagination. And then we also used to go on other trips. We'd go to the more denser forest. And I had mentioned about going by myself. It was quite a lot of times I went out there and explored. I had one of my uncles, my mom's youngest brother, he gave me a knife when I was really young. But I was one of those responsible kind and had no problem flicking it out, using it, doing whatever I needed to do to, cut a string or what have you. So I'd venture out, get my little knife, and a lot of times I wasn't real smart about that. I'd wear my shorts and my tank top, and I'd just venture out into those woods. First time I saw a tarantula, I swear to you, it looked like it was the size of a dinner plate. Of course, it wasn't. And it was probably 30 feet away from me. But that was the closest I was getting to it. Me and spiders don't have no need for each other. And I'd go off in that woods and spend hours and hours and hours out there. Found a big hole in the ground one time, which now I know it was from where a big old pine tree or something had fallen over and the roots had dug up and all that. But I told everybody there was a dinosaur footprint. Take people out there and show them. When it had rained, I could step in it or jump in it, and it would the hole was probably, if I look back now, it's probably 2.5 feet deep. So when it rained, it got a good foot deep in there, and I'd get in there and I'd bring a spoon with me, a big tablespoon, start digging in there, thinking I was going to find a bone. Never found any bones. Ventured all around those woods, and then one year they started clearing them. Which, I think now that sucked because it was a really beautiful forest. But time moves on, unfortunately. And they were building a neighborhood. They had the road, and they had to put up some frames for houses. And Chaz and a guy named Doug, I won't say their last names, but we used to go sit in those frames, climb up on the upper level, the second floor, and just sit in there and dip. Because they did, I didn't, but I tried just to seem cool. And green is not my color, but that was just something that boys did back then. And when I say boys, I don't mean to offend anybody. I know it's kind of ridiculous nowadays that I have to say this. Boys, I don't mean to offend anyone. But we were young kids, having fun. We didn't do any harm. We did do some things we were told not to do, but we didn't do any harm. I had fun. I had both a good and a horrible childhood, and I'll go into that in future videos, but to start off, I want to be as positive as possible. I try to find the good in everything and everyone. There are people out there that I despise. You know, if a steamroller ran over them in slow motion, I wouldn't bat an eye at it, but I would be the first one over there to see if they were okay. Because unlike society, I do care about people. I care about their well-being. It's just something that's in my nature. It's just stuck in my blood. You know, see somebody broke down on the side of the road and can tell they don't know what the hell they're doing, I'll stop and help. I don't have a problem doing that. If I'm in a parking lot and there's an elderly lady there who's trying to figure out who to call 4 or 5 people to change her tire because it's flat, I have no problem changing that flat tire for her so that she can get on. And don't accept money. It's not about accepting the money. It's not about, I didn't do it to make her feel good. That's what people fail to realize sometimes. People don't always do things to make the other person feel good. Sometimes we do it to make ourselves feel good. I like to feel good about myself. I like to feel like, man, I just made a difference. Something teeny tiny like changing a tire can make the world of difference for your own well-being and for that individual's well-being. So it's kind of twofold. That being said, I'm not going to keep rambling on because I could talk until YouTube shut down and my phone died. But I do want to say, please subscribe. Please like. If you have any comments, suggestions, please leave them. I read them, or my son will read them. He says that I have too much of a temper and will take it out on YouTube, on the people on YouTube, so he's going to scan it before he allows me to read it. I'm not really going to do that. People have nasty things to say about everybody on YouTube from what I've seen. Beautiful people on here putting videos up about clothes or their vehicles or whatever. Beautiful people, beautiful men, beautiful women, whatever. And inevitably somebody has something nasty to say. The person could be on there and just go out with a Jeep and show one of the just coolest Jeeps you've ever seen and just stand there next to it, not say a word, stand there next to it, and inevitably somebody going to have something negative to say. I'm not sure why. I guess maybe that makes them feel better. It's not a good way to make you feel better, but that's my opinion. And then also I would like to say, just because you don't see an injury doesn't mean there's not something there. I'm wearing a shirt. Not all wounds are visible. Not all wounds are visible. And that is for our individuals out there, whether they're veterans or people who have survived personal issues, abuse, anything that falls in any of those categories. Just know that you don't see their wounds, but they do have them. So smile. Smile at whoever walks by. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't hurt. And you never know. You may have just made a difference in that person's life for the day, for the moment, for the positive. I'm a veteran, and I have PTSD. Please support when you can and where you can such organizations as the PTSD Foundation of America, Camp Hope, Till Valhalla, and Wounded Warriors. Those are just to name a few. There's also 22 a day. Just look them all up. Look them up on the Google, and you'll see there's some very good organizations. I really appreciate your time and coming and sharing it with me. I'll be back. Thank you for giving me a try. Once again, like, subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.